welcome to the Betrayed Michael channel. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We talk about truth, betrayal, and bouncing back stronger. There I stood, taking in the sharp lines and shimmering windows of the newest addition to the Dallas skyline, a 30-story architectural beast I'd spent the last 2 years bringing to life. Folks were calling it bold, visionary. I just called it Tuesday. At 45, I'd built a name for myself, Michael Reeves, the guy who didn't compromise. Not in blueprints, not in business, not in life. They're blown away, sir, my assistant Trent whispered, offering me a flute of champagne. Some say it's your best work yet. I gave a polite nod, scanning the crowd of investors, developers, and backslapping colleagues. I wasn't here for praise. I quit craving approval a long time ago. My eyes landed on Howard Prescott, the same guy who, 6 months earlier, called my foundation design a structural gamble. Remember when Prescott wanted to scrap my support layout? I murmured to Trent. He nodded. Yeah, the guy who demanded a full redesign? His high-rise in Houston just collapsed. Mid-construction. 3 people hurt. I took a slow sip of champagne, letting the irony settle. I never forget who doubts me. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Jennifer. Even after 15 years of marriage, seeing her name still lit a small, steady flame inside me. I excused myself to the balcony and answered, "Hey. I'm just wrapping up here." Her voice was shaky. "Michael. Melissa wants to know if you'll make it to her recital tonight." "I know you said maybe." I glanced at my watch. "An hour till showtime. Tell her I'll be there. I don't miss the stuff that matters." It was a promise I kept, one my own father never could. The man bailed when I was 12, left me to care for my dying mother. I'd built my life on the ashes of that abandonment. My rules were simple: protect your own, be dependable, and remember who hurt you. Driving home to get changed, I thought about how precisely I'd laid the bricks of my life. Jennifer, with her gentle eyes and sharp mind, had always been the counterbalance to my methodical nature. Where I planned, she improvised. Where I was strict, she flowed. Together, we raised 2 great kids, Melissa, 16, and Daniel, 20. They had the stable, secure home I never did. No missed birthdays. No broken promises. Halfway through changing into a fresh shirt, my phone rang again. This time it was James Davenport, my best friend and real estate partner for 2 decades. He took a gamble on me back when I was just another guy sketching dreams on napkins. "We still on for racquetball tomorrow?" James asked. 6 sharp. "Don't be late again," I replied, the edge of a smile curling my lips. When I got home, the house was quiet. Jennifer had laid out my favorite tie. Little gestures like that kept our marriage grounded through all the noise. As I straightened it in the mirror, something slipped from my jacket pocket. A receipt. Lamesone Hotel. My brows furrowed. I hadn't been there in months. Last time was with a client from Belgium. Something about it felt wrong. As I drove to the recital hall, little things kept clicking into place. Jennifer's sudden passion for wellness retreats, always, just her and Melanie. Her phone, now locked with a new passcode. Those midnight texts she insisted were from her sister. I pushed it aside. Not now. Melissa needed me. I found my seat in the auditorium and spotted Daniel a few rows up, laughing with his college buddies. I gave him a nod. He'd followed me into architecture, and despite how tough I'd been on him, he still smiled like he meant it. Midway through Melissa's dance routine, my phone buzzed with a text from my site foreman: "Urgent structural issues at our new build." As the recital ended, I kissed Melissa's forehead, told Jennifer I'd be home later, and headed to the construction site, completely unaware that the real collapse in my life hadn't happened yet. My brain was in overdrive, running through every possible scenario, fallback, and contingency plan like a machine stuck in overdrive. When chaos strikes, I go into logistics mode. It's my default. That didn't change even at the hospital. I made my way through the halls with laser focus, until a nurse stepped in front of me at the station. "Only family allowed in the room," she said, her voice firm. "I'm her husband," I answered without missing a beat. My voice didn't betray the firestorm churning inside me. She checked her clipboard, paused, then gave me a look that didn't sit right. "That's odd," she muttered. "Someone already signed in, as her husband." I froze. For the first time in years, I felt the ground shift under me. That iron grip I always kept on life. Slipping. The nurse kept talking, but her voice faded into static as I pushed past and made my way toward Jennifer's room. I opened the door. There he was. James. Sitting next to her, holding her hand like it had always been his. Their fingers laced together with the kind of ease that comes from repetition. A routine. A relationship. Jennifer's face went pale the moment she saw me standing there. "We were trying to find the right way to tell you," James began, not even letting go of her hand. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just stood there, taking in the picture, burning it into memory. My best friend. My wife. Together. That damn hotel receipt I found in my jacket last week, James must have slipped it in during one of our racquetball games. The sudden wellness retreats. The secretive texts she claimed were from her sister. It all came together in that one sickening moment. Without saying a word, I turned around and walked out. I heard Jennifer call my name, broken, panicked, but I didn't stop. In the parking lot, I sat in my car, hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My breathing stayed steady, but inside? Everything was on fire. The worst part wasn't the affair. It was the betrayal. The planning. The teamwork it took to pull this off, the two people I trusted most, calculating behind my back. For the next 3 weeks, I lived like a machine. Moved into my apartment above my design studio. Called my lawyer. Filed for divorce. Kept managing my projects like nothing happened. I messaged Daniel occasionally, just enough to keep him steady. As for Jennifer? 27 calls. I ignored all of them. Until call number 28. I picked up. "What could you possibly want?" I said, my tone flat. Almost curious. "Michael, please," she started, her voice cracking. "It's not what you think." I saw exactly what it is, I cut in. "How long's it been?" Silence. Heavy, damning silence. 2 years, she finally whispered. 2 years. That meant Daniel's graduation. My mother's funeral. Our anniversary trip to Bice. All of it, tainted. Fabricated. Lies. "James doesn't mean anything," she stammered. "It was a mistake." I laughed. It was dry. Cold. A mistake is one choice. You made thousands. Every lie, every night you stayed out, every little excuse, you chose it. "What about the kids?" she asked. "Can we at least talk about Daniel? He's a grown man. Melissa's old enough to understand betrayal. I'll see you at the divorce hearing." I ended the call. No yelling. No screaming. Just that old, sharp clarity. The same I had at 12 when I realized my father was never coming home. The same clarity I had when investors pulled out early and I built my firm anyway. Betrayal doesn't destroy me. It sharpens me. The house I designed with my own hands now felt like a monument to lies. I was back only to collect what was mine. Jennifer wasn't home, timing I arranged on purpose. Footsteps echoed upstairs. Daniel. He froze halfway down the stairs, a storm of emotions on his face, relief, anger, confusion. "You finally came," he said. "You're really just walking away?" "I'm here for my things. That's it." "After 23 years, he said, voice rising. "Mom's a wreck. You're just gonna leave? That what she told you?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. Almost too calm. "Did she mention it's been going on for 2 years? That she and James were lying to all of us the whole time?" I watched it hit him. 2 years? Daniel's voice cracked. "That means, during my graduation?" I nodded. Before he could say more, the doorbell rang. Melissa stood there, tears streaking her face, dance bag on her shoulder. She pushed past me, furious. "I hate her. I hate them." I shut the door. "What happened?" "I went to Uncle James' office," she said through clenched teeth. "He promised to help with college stuff. I showed up early. His assistant said he was meeting with Mom. So I waited. They came out, kissing. Like it was no big deal. Like they weren't destroying everything." Daniel sank down onto the stairs, his head in his hands. I put a hand on Melissa's shoulder. "Listen to me, both of you," I said, my voice low but steady. "What happens next isn't about reconciliation. It's not about forgiveness. I don't forgive betrayal. Not from anyone." "So that's it?" Daniel asked. "You're just done with Mom?" "She made her choice. James made his. Now I'm making mine." That night, I sat in my downtown office when Raymond Gallo, head of security and one of the few people I still trusted, walked in and dropped a folder on my desk. "You were right," he said. "It's all here. Financials. Call logs. Hotel stays. Hidden assets. 3 properties, one in Aspen, one on the lake, one in the Bahamas. All under shell companies." I flipped through the folder, page after page. Phone records. Surveillance stills. Time-stamped entries. James had been laying groundwork for this for a while. I snapped the folder shut. He always said I taught him to plan for the worst. Ray raised an eyebrow. "What's the next move, Michael? Go legal? Blow it up in the media? Financial ruin?" I looked up at him. The wheels were already turning. I stood by the window in my office, staring out over the city I helped shape. Just across the way, I could see the headquarters of James' company. Too close for comfort, but fitting. Poetic, almost. People like James and Jennifer, they treat betrayal like a speed bump. A minor inconvenience on the way to their next chapter. They think it's something you just move on from, I said quietly. I'm going to show them it is the story, the beginning, the middle, and the damn ending. Ray, who had worked with me long enough to recognize when my mind was locked onto something, nodded slowly. "How far are you planning to take this?" "All the way," I replied, my voice calm and cold. "First steps intel. I want the full picture, who knew, who helped, and what they've been planning behind my back. After that," I paused, a trace of a smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. "I want options." "Options for what?" "For making them understand what consequences really feel like." By midnight, the foundation of my response plan was complete. It wouldn't be driven by emotion. It'd be deliberate, structured, like how I stabilize compromised buildings, locate the weaknesses, clear the rotten parts, and rebuild stronger from the ashes. 5 weeks after the hospital bombshell, I sat across from Nora Harrington, my attorney of 15 years. Her office was sleek, like everything else in her world. She slid a folder toward me. "They're offering a straight 50-50, she said. "Everything acquired during the marriage. I didn't even reach for the papers." "And you told them that's not going to fly." I reminded them of the prenup, she said with a smirk. Your business, your patents, all remain separate. And James' company? Not part of the divorce, officially. But, she hesitated, Jennifer's lawyer mentioned they'd appreciate your discretion. I snorted. They want me to keep quiet. They're willing to offer more money in exchange for a non-disclosure. Now I picked up the papers, glancing through them like they were someone else's homework. They're scared. As they should be. My response? I asked, looking up. Enforce the prenup. Refuse the NDA. You also want full custody of Melissa. She doesn't deserve shared custody. I've got logs, every time she skipped out on Melissa's events to be with James. I passed Nora a flash drive. She tucked it away without hesitation. This won't be clean. It's already messy. And? I want a forensic breakdown of every dollar spent in the last 3 years. Looking for anything specific? I paused at the door. Just confirmation. That evening, I dropped by Melanie's place. Melissa had been staying there since the fallout. I found her in the guest room, half buried in physics books. How's Newton treating you? I asked, leaning against the doorframe. She looked up, and for a second, I saw the kid I used to tuck in every night. I hate it, she muttered, but I'm keeping my 4.0. That's my girl. I sat on the edge of the bed. I filed for custody today. She gave a quick nod. Good. I already told Mom I want to live with you. It might get messy. These things usually do. She's already trying to spin you as cold and emotionally unavailable. Her voice had a bitterness to it that wasn't there before. Like that excuses anything. I studied her face, there was a new hardness around the edges. Don't let their choices change who you are, Melissa. She shot back, why not? You've changed. I've never seen you like this. I'm not changing, I said softly. You're just seeing who I've always been. Later that night, I met Ray at a quiet bar way off our usual radar. No risk of being overheard or recognized. That was the point. We found something, Ray said, sliding a folder across the table. Inside were pages of transactions, shell companies, personal transfers. He's been moving money around, Ray said. Looks like laundering. I didn't flinch. And Jennifer? She's been doing it too. Small amounts. Started about 1.5 years ago. Separate bank. My guess? Exit plan. They were building a new life while lying to your face. Ray hesitated. What else? Your son, Daniel. He met with James. Private dining room. Capitol Grill. Over an hour. That one stung. I didn't show it, but Ray saw something shift behind my eyes. Get me the security footage. Next morning, I stood inside an upscale watch boutique downtown. Gloria, the owner, greeted me like she always did. Looking for something special, Mr. Reeves? I pointed to a specific model. That one. For my son. She glanced at the display. Funny, thought I saw Daniel here last week. With Mr. Davenport. Looking at the same model. My face didn't move. Is that so? He said it was a graduation gift, she added. A $15,000 Pec Philippe. Figures. I'll take it, I said. Engrave it. As she wrapped the box, I added, Gloria, how long have we known each other? 20 years, she replied. And in those 20 years, have I ever lied to you? Of course not. Then hear me when I say, James Davenport is not who you think he is. I'd suggest rethinking any deals you've got with him. She nodded slowly. My lease is up next month with his firm. Good time to diversify. Across town, Jennifer sat in her lawyer's office, unraveling. Diane, her attorney, laid it out plain. "He's pushing for full custody," Diane said. "He can't," Jennifer snapped. "He can, and he's got documentation. Missed events, appointments, family milestones, all tied to Mr. Davenport. That doesn't make me a bad mother." "No," Diane replied. "But it makes his argument very compelling. And there's the matter of the money. Those were emergency savings." Diane raised an eyebrow. $342,000 worth? Jennifer didn't answer. "Mrs. Reeves," Diane said flatly, "your husband isn't acting out of anger. He's building a case. Calmly. Intentionally. And it's working." That same evening, Daniel texted me. Asked to come by. When he showed up, the first thing I noticed was the watch, Patek Philippe, $15,000 easy. "Nice piece," I said, pouring us each a whiskey. He glanced at his wrist, then met my eyes. "James gave it to me." "I know. Gloria told me." He took a slow drink. "I met with him." "I know that too. He offered me a job. Said in 5 years I could be running my own division, with his guidance. His jaw was tight. Said you were trying to ruin him. Losing it over revenge." I studied him. Saw the war playing out behind his eyes. "And what do you believe?" Daniel exhaled. "I think he betrayed you. But, he's always believed in me. Even when you were pushing harder than I could handle." "So you're thinking about taking his offer?" His silence gave me the answer. I opened a drawer, set a box on the table. "Bought you the same watch," I said. "Had it engraved." He opened it, reading the back. "Integrity is the only true legacy, Dad. He's not offering you a future," I told him. "He's buying leverage. He knows you and Melissa are my weak spots." Daniel looked up. "What are you going to do to him?" "It's not about what I'll do," I said. "It's about what he's already done. Ask him about Alberto Hernandez, the contractor who died on his site in Houston. Ask if cutting corners to save 2 weeks was worth a man's life." His face shifted. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying loyalty has consequences. Even for family." Next day, I met Olivia Mitchell, James' ex, at her ranch. She poured iced tea, warily polite. "I need info," I told her. "Offshore accounts. The ones he hid during your divorce." Her brow lifted. "How do you know about those?" "Same way I know about the bribed judge, the city permits, the cover-ups." She didn't deny it. Just studied me, then stood, retrieved a hidden flash drive. "My lawyer found these too late. I've been waiting for the right moment. And now?" She handed it over. "I believe that moment's here." Driving back, Ray called. "James is pushing a merger. Barrett Construction. He's scrambling." "Block it," I said. "Leak the safety docs to Barrett's legal team." "Already done. Also, Jennifer wants a meeting. Says it's about the kids." I paused. "Set it up. Public place. You think that's wise?" "No. But it's necessary. In the last 6 months alone, you spent 12 weekends away from her," I said. "All with James. I have the receipts, flight records, hotel bookings, time-stamped." Tears welled up in Jennifer's eyes. "What are you going to do?" I stood slowly, placing my napkin beside my untouched water. "I'm going to teach our children what loyalty looks like. That choices carry weight. That some betrayals can't be walked back." She called after me as I walked away. "You can't be this cold. This isn't the man I married." I paused, turning just enough to look back. "You never knew the man you married. That was your first mistake. Across town, James sat in his office, staring at the email that destroyed his shot at merging with Barrett Construction. Attached were documents outlining the Houston site safety violations, including his own emails ordering work to continue despite clear warnings. There was also a police inquiry to reopen the Hernandez case. His phone rang. "Barrett's out," his attorney said bluntly. "And the DA has subpoenaed your Houston records. OSHA's involved too." James muttered, "Michael. It's bigger than him," the attorney said. 3 international clients have suspended contracts pending review." James hung up, poured himself a drink, and stared at his shaking hands. A new text buzzed in, "He knows everything. The accounts, the properties. All of it. Jennifer." Just then, Daniel stepped into the office. "Daniel," James tried to smile. "Didn't expect." "Who was Alberto Hernandez?" my son asked. James froze. "The contractor who died. The one who warned you about safety issues." "That's, who told you that?" "My father." Daniel shut the door behind him. James tried to spin it. "Your father's not the man you think." Daniel removed the watch James had gifted him, setting it on the desk. "He's exactly who I thought he was. The only ones who weren't, were you and my mother." That night, Ray updated me. "Barrett's out. DA's circling. And Olivia's intel confirms the offshore accounts, serious tax trouble. Jennifer's transfers? Traced to the same shell network." I nodded. Daniel returned the watch. Ray looked up. "Choosing sides? Choosing the truth." Just then, a message from Melissa lit up my phone. "Mom keeps calling." "What do I say?" I replied, "Do what feels right. But remember who showed up. For every recital. Every doctor visit. Every nightmare. Even when I was working, I was there." She wasn't. This was never about revenge. It was about truth. And making sure they all saw it, clearly. Later that afternoon, I looked up from my desk to see someone I didn't expect, Melanie Carlton, Jennifer's sister. She walked in like the floor might crumble beneath her, her discomfort written all over her face. "I didn't think you'd actually see me," she said softly. "We've known each other 20 years, I said, keeping my voice even. "And you're still family. To my kids, at least." She eased into the chair across from me, clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. "That's why I'm here," she said. "Jennifer's unraveling, Michael." The custody ruling hit her harder than she expected. The financial investigations, James pulling away, she's falling apart. She's even talking about leaving the country. Starting over somewhere new. I didn't blink. That's her choice. And the kids? Melissa? Daniel? Do you want them to lose their mother too? My children lost their mother the moment she chose to betray them. And me. She shifted, her frustration growing. What Jennifer never understood, what James never got, is that actions have consequences. Permanent ones. You don't knock down the foundation of a house and expect the roof to stay up. Melanie's expression turned sharp. "This isn't about buildings, Michael. It's about people. About family." "Exactly," I said, folding my hands on the desk. "And family requires loyalty. That's the bare minimum. Jennifer shattered that. Now she has to live in the mess she made." Melanie stood abruptly, her jaw tight. "Jennifer always said that behind your cold exterior was a man capable of warmth. Real compassion. I think she was wrong. There's nothing under there but ice." I looked at her calmly. "Did Jennifer send you?" She faltered. "No, she doesn't know I'm here." "Then why are you really here?" She sighed, her defenses crumbling. Because I still care about my sister. And, because Daniel came to see me yesterday. He's worried about you. That made me pause. Worried? About what? He thinks this pursuit, your fight for justice, has become something else. That you're not just holding them accountable anymore. That you're consumed. That you're trying to destroy them. I leaned back, thinking. Justice without consequence is just observation, Melanie. And revenge without limits? That's cruelty. Exactly, she said. And you've already won, haven't you? You've exposed them. Got custody. Saved your business. When does it stop? I stood. The conversation was over. When James and Jennifer chose to betray me, they didn't set boundaries. They didn't limit the damage. So why should I? As Melanie walked out, my phone buzzed. Ray. James called an emergency board meeting, he reported. He's trying to sell off his remaining assets before the feds freeze everything. And our contact at the DA's office just confirmed, they're filing charges next week. Securities fraud. Tax evasion. Criminal negligence tied to the Hernandez case. I glanced at my watch. It's time. Final message? Ray asked. Meet me at the Metropolitan Club. 8 o'clock. The Metropolitan Club was buzzing as usual, dealmakers and old money tucking secrets behind imported cigars and overpriced bourbon. I walked in at exactly 8, nodded to a few familiar faces, and headed for the private dining room I'd reserved. James was already there, a tumbler of scotch in his hand. His eyes had that jittery, sleepless sheen. He looked like a man running out of places to hide. You called this meeting, he said. His voice was hollow, the swagger long gone. Why? I sat across from him, calm as ever. To give you a choice. He laughed bitterly. A choice? You've gutted my company, tanked my stock, destroyed my reputation. The DA's filing charges. What possible choice do I have left? Confession or destruction, I said. Full disclosure. You return the stolen funds. You cooperate. You turn yourself in. Or I burn everything that's left. You can't be serious. Alberto Hernandez had 3 children, I interrupted. Their father died on your site because you ignored safety warnings. You buried those reports to save 2 weeks of construction time. James paled, the glass in his hand trembling. How do you know that? I know everything. Just like I know his widow is behind on her mortgage. Just like I know about the bribes you paid Commissioner Langley to get expedited permits. And the offshore accounts in the Caymans you tried to hide under that shell company in Zurich. His face collapsed into something between shame and fear. What do you want? I already told you, I said. Justice. The real kind. Not what's handed out in a courtroom, but the kind that sticks with you. The kind your reflection won't let you forget. He looked like he might cry, but I didn't stay to watch. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and left him to whatever he had left of his drink, and his future. The money moved through your sister's art gallery, I said. Every wire transfer, every creative invoice, I've got it all documented. James sat motionless, jaw clenched. His glass trembled slightly before he finished it in one swallow. If it were enough to charge me, I'd already be in custody, he said flatly. Some evidence needs context to be admissible, I replied. And I'm more than willing to provide that context, unless you step up and take responsibility yourself. He leaned back, face drained. And Jennifer? What happens to her in all this? She made her choice the moment she picked you. You really are a heartless bastard. I tilted my head slightly, studying the man who used to be my friend. Tell me, James, when did our friendship end for you? Was it the first time you slept with my wife? Or had you already decided I was disposable before then? He had no answer. You've got until tomorrow, I said, standing. Confess, or I burn everything down. I've prepared documentation for both outcomes. As I reached the door, his voice cracked. What about redemption? Second chances? I paused but didn't turn around. Some betrayals can't be redeemed. Some relationships can't be rebuilt. You taught me that. Chapter 8, Permanent Fractures. The next morning, I stood at the stove, making coffee the old-fashioned way. Just as the smell filled the kitchen, the front door opened, Daniel, using the spare key he never returned. We need to talk, he said, eyes dark. I gestured to the stool by the counter and poured him a mug. I figured you'd come. James called me last night, he said, gripping the cup. He was drunk. Talking about confessions. Prison. Even, ending it all. I didn't react. What did you say to him? The truth. That his actions finally caught up with him. Daniel's eyes locked onto mine. This has gone beyond justice, Dad. This is demolition. That's what you see? I see a man who won't stop until there's nothing left of the people who hurt him. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't accusing. But each word was heavy. Even if it means losing a part of yourself in the process. I leaned against the counter. Do you remember that bridge you built for your science fair when you were 10? Daniel frowned. What does that have to do with anything? It collapsed. Right there during your presentation. You were humiliated. Nathan Miller tampered with the support beam, he said. Exactly. He sabotaged it, I nodded. And I told you then what I'll repeat now, when someone deliberately destroys what you've built, you don't just patch it up. You tear it down, rebuild it stronger, and make damn sure they can't touch it again. Daniel shook his head. Mom and James hurt you. I get that. But you've already won. You exposed them. You took custody of Melissa. The company's intact. James is facing charges. When does it end? I didn't answer right away. It ends, I finally said, when justice is complete. And who decides when that is? You? His voice cracked a little. James said you gave him an ultimatum. What if he doesn't confess? Then I do what needs to be done. Daniel stood. The father I admired, the one who taught us about loyalty, about integrity, he knew the difference between justice and vengeance. I didn't move. And what about loyalty to yourself, he asked, voice sharper now. To the man you used to be? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Ray. James is calling a press conference, he said. 1 hour. His HQ. An hour later, I stood in the lobby of Davenport Development. The room buzzed with reporters, cameras, whispers. I stayed in the back, unnoticed. James stepped up to the podium. He looked wrecked, dark circles under his eyes, suit wrinkled, hands slightly shaking, but his voice was steady. Thank you for coming, he began. I've called this press conference to address the allegations made against Davenport Development. Cameras clicked. Pens scratched. Silence fell. The allegations are true, James said. A collective gasp swept through the room. I personally directed the concealment of safety violations at our Houston site, he continued, which directly led to the death of Alberto Hernandez. I knowingly authorized illegal financial transfers through offshore accounts and engaged in tax evasion. Chaos. Flashes popped. People shouted. But he wasn't done. I take full responsibility for my actions. I've submitted full documentation to the district attorney's office and will surrender myself this afternoon. Then he raised his hand, calming the noise. There's one more thing. My personal relationship with Jennifer Reeves, while inappropriate, had no influence on my business decisions. These were my failures alone. I watched, unmoved, as the man who once shook my hand every Sunday confessed to the world. He didn't look at me. He didn't need to. The world saw the truth now. And that was always the goal. She didn't know, Ray said over the line. James's deposition clears Jennifer. Says she wasn't involved in the financial crimes. Not directly. I narrowed my eyes. That part hadn't been in his press conference. After James was escorted out, Ray continued, he spotted you. You saw him? Our eyes had met, briefly. His face read as finished. Mine? I don't know. Probably unreadable, like always. Later that evening, Nora, my attorney, called. James's confession changes things, she said. The statement in his deposition specifically absolves Jennifer of involvement in the offshore accounts or safety violations. She wasn't involved in those particular crimes, I replied, flat. Still, Nora said, this undermines part of our custody case. If she petitions, the judge may reconsider. She won't petition. How can you be so sure? Because I know things James doesn't. Things Jennifer wouldn't want made public. Not now. After we hung up, I drove out to the suburbs, to a modest house on the edge of Dallas. A woman in her 40s opened the door. Her face shifted from confusion to quiet recognition. Mr. Reeves, she said. I'm Elena Hernandez. She stepped aside and let me in. The living room was simple but homey, photos of Alberto with his kids filled the walls. There were 3 of them. Smiling faces frozen in time. I watched the press conference, she said, offering coffee. So. Spencer Davenport finally admitted what he did to Alberto. Yes, I said, accepting the cup. And I wanted you to hear this directly. There's a settlement coming. For you and your children. Her brows lifted. From Davenport Development? From me, I said. There'll be a trust for their education. And this house, paid in full. She stared at me. Why? You didn't cause his death. No, I said quietly. But I helped expose the truth. And justice, real justice, isn't only about punishment. Sometimes, it's about restoration. On the drive home, a text popped up from Melissa. Mom's at Aunt Melanie's. She wants to see me. Should I go? I pulled over and typed back, that's your decision. Just remember who she chose when it mattered. Seconds later, another message. This one from Daniel. Spencer turned himself in. Is this finally enough for you? I didn't reply. Chapter 9, Reconstruction. A year to the day since the hospital call that started it all, I stood in the observation deck of my newest project. A tower of glass and steel. A clean line on the skyline. Below, Dallas stretched out like a blueprint, every block a possibility. The elevator chimed. Daniel stepped out. I got your message, he said, cautious. Come look, I said. We stood side by side, father and son, silent. Spencer's sentencing is tomorrow, he said after a while. News says 5 to 7 years. Justice, I replied. For Alberto. For the people who were hurt because he put profit before people. Daniel turned to face me. And Mom? Will she ever get your forgiveness? Forgiveness isn't forgetting, I said. It's not pretending it never happened. She's leaving Dallas, isn't she? He nodded. California. Says there's nothing left here but memories. I didn't respond. Melissa's 18 now. She decides her own visitation. Says she might see Mom at Christmas. But her focus is college. She got into MIT, I said, allowing a flicker of pride. Told me she wants to design structures that last centuries. Permanent statements, she called them. And you? I asked. Cornell's still good, he said. But I accepted Stanford's offer. Their urban renewal program is more in line with my goals. Stanford, I repeated. Where your mother's moving. You think I'm choosing her? I didn't answer. I'm not choosing anyone, Daniel said. That's what you never got. Healing doesn't mean burning everything to the ground. Sometimes it means patching what can be saved. I turned back to the glass. When you build something with your own hands, your home, your family, betrayal feels permanent. Like a crack in the foundation that you'll never fully trust again. I understand loyalty, he said. And consequences. But endless punishment, that's not the man who raised us. After a long pause, I said, did I ever tell you about my father? Daniel shook his head. Just that he left when your mom got sick. Terminal cancer, I said. He walked away when I was 12. Left me to care for her until she died. Daniel swallowed. He came back, didn't he? After my first project took off. He wanted to reconcile. Talked about forgiveness. Redemption. What did you do? I told him what I later told your mother, some choices can't be undone. Daniel was quiet. Did you ever speak again? No. He died 3 years later. I didn't attend the funeral. So that's it? The cycle repeats? Mom dies alone? We pick sides? Not sides, I said. Values. Loyalty. Truth. And what about growth? Redemption? My voice softened. Just a touch. Is that what you believe in? It's what you taught us. Until this happened. I looked at him. Go to Stanford. Stay close to your mother if that's what feels right. But remember what happened. Why it happened. And protect yourself accordingly. Is that forgiveness? He asked. No, I said. It's acceptance. Your relationship with her is yours to define. But it's separate from what she did to me. As we turned to leave, Daniel asked one last thing. The settlement, for the Hernandez family. That was you, wasn't it? I nodded. Why? That wasn't part of your revenge. Because justice, I said, isn't just punishment. It's making things right, where you can. Later that night, I sat in my apartment. The city lights blinked in the window. My phone buzzed, an unfamiliar number. I picked up. Michael Reeves. A woman's voice answered. Warm, professional. Mr. Reeves, this is Dr. Cameron from Dallas Memorial. I'm calling about your daughter, Melissa. Brooke. The name alone made my heart skip. There's been an accident, the voice said. Single vehicle. Highway 75. She's in surgery now. I'm on my way, I said, already grabbing my keys. Same hospital. Same corridors. But not the same reasons. Last time I was here, I discovered betrayal. This time, I feared loss. As I rounded the corner to the surgical waiting area, I stopped short. Jennifer was already there, slumped in a chair, tear-streaked and shaking. What happened? I asked, keeping a careful distance. She was driving back from MIT orientation, she said, her voice cracking. Police said she swerved to avoid another car. Hit the guardrail hard. I absorbed it in silence, the terror threatening to crack through my composure. They're saying internal bleeding. Possible spinal injury, she whispered. They called me first. I was in her recent calls. We sat across from each other in tense silence. 1 year's worth of fractured history between us, like a chasm. Hours passed. Daniel arrived, quietly trying to balance the space between us. Just after midnight, the surgeon came out in scrubs. "Mr. and Mrs. Reeves," she began. "Brooke's out of surgery. Internal bleeding's under control. But there was spinal trauma. We won't know the extent until she wakes up." "When?" I asked, voice calm even as my chest tightened. "Could be hours. Maybe days." After she left, Jennifer walked up to me. "She's going to need both of us," she said. "Whatever's happened. Brooke needs us. Together." I looked at her. Truly looked, for the first time since it all shattered. "For Brooke," I said finally. "Nothing more." She nodded. She knew what that meant. 3 days later, Brooke opened her eyes. "Okay, this is weird," she rasped. "You two in the same room without lawyers present?" I was at her side instantly. "How do you feel?" "Like I hit a wall at 60, she said, still trying to joke through the pain. Vanessa, Jennifer, reached for her hand. "We're both here. Always for you. The prognosis was better than we feared. She'd recover, though it would take time. Therapy. Persistence." Over the next few weeks, Jennifer and I created a quiet truce. We alternated hospital visits, only communicating through Daniel or brief, clipped texts. Civil, efficient. On discharge day, I arrived to find Jennifer helping Brooke pack. "California feels further away now," she was saying gently. "I'm not changing my plans, Mom," Brooke said. "MIT deferred me a semester. I'm still going." Jennifer's face showed concern. "She can recover in Boston," I said from the doorway. "I've arranged an apartment near campus. Top-tier physical therapists." Brooke smiled. "See, Mom? All handled. Dad style." As Jennifer walked past me to leave, she paused. "Thank you," she said. "For putting her first." "I always did." 3 months later, Ray stepped into my office. "Spencer's appeal was denied," he reported. "He'll serve the full sentence." I didn't look up from the blueprint on my desk. "Milan projects ahead of schedule," Ray added. "Your new structural designs? Everyone's calling them revolutionary." "Good." Ray hesitated, then placed an envelope on my desk. "It's from Jennifer's attorney. Not legal. Personal." After he left, I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. "Michael. I know words mean nothing next to actions. I betrayed you. And I know you don't forgive. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for something smaller. Let our children love us both, without guilt. Without feeling they're betraying you to care for me. I'm building my life far from yours, as you wanted. I won't interfere. I just hope Brooke and Daniel don't carry this weight forever. I hurt you. And what I did was unforgivable. But please, let it stop with us. Jennifer." I folded it and placed it in my drawer without comment. That night, I called Brooke in Boston. "How's therapy?" I asked. "Brutal," she said. "But working. That spine specialist you found is incredible." "And your mother?" I asked. She paused, surprised. "Yeah. She calls weekly. Sometimes more." "Good." "Wait," she said slowly. "Are you actually asking about Mom?" "I'm asking about your relationship with her," I said. "It's important you have one." A long silence followed. "Who are you, and what have you done with Dominic Reeves?" I almost smiled. "Your accident shifted something," I said. "But not your view on forgiveness," she guessed. "No," I admitted. "Some things remain constant." Later, I stood on my balcony, the city sprawling below. Lights scattered like stars. Streets like arteries connecting lives I'd never know. And mine? Built from concrete and heartbreak. Structure by structure. Choice by choice. The betrayal had never left. It was still there, a fracture in the foundation. But some cracks you learn to build around. Forgiveness wasn't in me. Never had been. But for my children, I could allow acceptance. I pulled out my phone. Texted Daniel, coming to Stanford next month for the symposium. Dinner? He replied quickly, just us. Or. I paused. Then typed, your choice. It wasn't forgiveness. Michael Reeves didn't forgive betrayal. Not from his wife. Not from his best friend. Not from anyone. But for his children, he could prove that while the past is unchangeable, the future isn't yet poured in concrete. It can be rebuilt. Not the same. But strong enough to stand.